Hello, everyone, and welcome to another play-by-play. We're looking at a scene in southwest Alaska of some bears at a waterfall on the Brooks River. It looks like a scene of July, but it is in fact August 26th. My name is Sarah Bruce, a park ranger with Katmai National Park, and today joining me is from the Katmai Conservancy, Naomi Boak. Naomi, how are you?
I'm fine. And like you, I had to check my calendar when I saw this. It's like, is this not July?
Yeah, we're typically not used to seeing bears gathered at the falls like this in August. They're typically following their food upstream to other rivers, but there's still plenty of salmon in the Brooks River, and it's making for some good bear scenes.
Yeah. So
If you're not,
go ahead.
sorry, Naomi. If you're not familiar with the Brooks River and its location, we can go ahead and take a quick tour. Katmai National Park in Alaska is sits in southwestern part of the state, and it is the fourth largest national park in the Park Service, and it's only accessible by plane or boat. Brooks River is located in the west central portion of Katmai, and the river is about a mile and a half long. It flows from Lake Brooks, which you can see in the lower left, to Naknek Lake, which is at the upper right, and Brooks Falls is located at about the river's halfway mark. Along with the National Park Service, Explore.org is the host of our webcams, and they host and maintain several webcams along the river. The signal from the bear cams is either transmitted directly to a satellite internet connection or relayed to a radio repeater on Dumpling Mountain, which then sends the signal to the small town of King Salmon about 30 miles away. We can look again at the Brooks River and the locations of the various bear cams. The Brooks Falls cam is the most popular camera on Explore.org and the one I watch most often. It looks at the falls and sometimes downstream. This yellow polygon is the falls cam's line of sight. Brooks Falls Low is located at the same place as the Brooks Falls High camera, only it's positioned a little lower to give us a bear's eye view of the water from the riverbank. About 100 yards downstream of the falls is the Riffles Cam, which looks across and upriver towards the falls. The area highlighted in white is the Riffle Cam's line of sight. Near the mouth of the river, we have three other cameras. The River Watch camera is mounted to the footbridge over Brooks River, and it allows us to see upstream from the bridge across the slow-moving, meandering areas of the lower Brooks River, and its line of sight is shaded in green. Our underwater camera, which we've been trying to clean as often as we can, but it's so hard with all these bears around. It is mounted to a piling on the bridge looking downstream. And it's really special that we have this cam because we get to see so many fish, all of the salmon, and a couple of other species as well, and the occasional swimming bear. Cat's River View is the camera mounted on the south side of the bridge. It's named in honor of the late Catherine Green, who was Explore.org's lead camera operator for a number of years, and Cat's River View can change during the year, but right now it's looking across the river mouth and toward Naknek Lake, as we see outlined in purple. In total, the combination of all the cameras at Brooks Falls gives us a chance to watch bears throughout most of the river from Brooks Falls to Naknek Lake. And finally, the Dumpling Mountain camera is perched about 2,200 feet above sea level and about 3 miles away from Brooks Falls. It offers a panoramic view of the surrounding mountains and lakes. And yeah, it's a great way to see Brooks River from a little bit afar, but still pretty close. We can head back to live footage now at Brooks Falls, where we do have a couple of bears hanging out. And we did these two bears, oh goodness. Where they're sitting now is in the jacuzzi. Naomi, do you recognize either of these two?
Yeah, the one that leaping bear is 801. And
Oh
they're
goodness.
having
Oh.
words. Yeah.
It's a pretty
See,
coveted
that's
spot right there.
well, the J is, for the big boys that can hold themselves there, you can catch a lot of
Mm-hmm.
fish. And I believe that bear is 913 on the left.
Okay.
But the bear on the left did not like 801's leap. for salmon. Too
Yeah.
confrontational for its taste.
And these two males, they're pretty close in age, maybe a year apart or so. Not too high up in the hierarchy, but yeah, he did not care to have him in his space.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was, and bears like us have a personal space bubble,
Hmm.
right? And and especially like two big males like that, the space bubble is probably pretty large.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They don't want to. They'll definitely defend that space, and yeah, definitely getting into that personal space. And you're right, the bubble probably shrinks and expands just throughout the season as food becomes available, but then also vying for mates and all of those things that play in to dominance. But yeah, the bears typically I mean, they're tolerating each other fairly well right now. We've got 5 bears in the scene. 6 bears? It's so hard to tell. Is
Uh,
that a rock or a bear?
yeah, I know.
uh,
Um, I think that's maybe 151 over by the conveyor belt, and I think there may be a bear in the office,
okay.
but I can't tell. But
It's
yeah, it
so
looks like
fine.
801 came back. 801 really wants to be where he was before, close to the jacuzzi.
Yeah.
He, I wonder if he really wants to be in the jacuzzi. Um, and above them is bear 901 in her sweet spot on the lip.
Oh yeah.
901. Excuse
Yeah,
me,
I
it's
love seeing
bear
bears on the lip.
909. Sorry, it's 909.
Oh, you're right.
I
We were
knew it
just
was
talking about
909.
it too.
I know. I knew it was 909, just the wrong numbers came out of my mouth. That's why
There's
I
a lot
get
of
distracted
nine
by,
zero something.
yeah, 909. We want to go to the falls low cam because then maybe we can get a good look at 909. There she is.
Yes, those distinctive blonde ears, but that they're distinctive, but it kind of runs in the family because is
Yeah,
it her offspring or 910's offspring that has really blonde ears as well, or maybe both?
yeah. And her mom, 409 Bead Nose,
Mm-hmm.
had really blonde ears. And look at that. That bringing the leg up is like that. That's very characteristic of her. So if you're ever wondering if you see a big fat bear on top of the lip with blonde ears and you can't tell who it is, if that bear lifts up her leg, that's probably 909.
Yeah. And all of the family members, all of 409 Beanose's descendants, well, that we know of, they fish on that spot. 409, 410, the offspring of both of those bears, we tend to see them all fishing on the lip. Um, Not too many fish jumping this time of year, but still a decent spot to make a living.
Yeah. So, Sarah, did you hear? Are there silvers? Are there coho in the river now?
There are coho in the river. They started showing up maybe a week or two ago. And yeah, there's a little bit of a commercial fishing for salmon for silvers as well, and that ended, I think, before they even made their way up to the brooks. So, yeah, they're there. They sockeye are a little bit smaller than cohos than the silvers. It's going to be hard to tell what's jumping though because it could still be sockeye. There's for sure a couple of silvers jumping, but the silvers are a little bit bigger. When you're looking at them compared to the sockeye, you can tell when they're right next to each other. But just jumping over the falls, it's a little harder. I think of them as
Yeah.
more torpedo shaped.
Uh-huh. And they would be, prime targets for the bears. They wouldn't be as late in their spawning cycle, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So the closer salmon get to their time to spawn, they're burning energy. So when the salmon re-enter freshwater, they stop eating. So they're relying on all of that energy that they've stored up by being in the ocean to make it back to their spawning grounds. And as they use that energy, they become less calorically dense as well. So the fresher the salmon, the fattier, the more calorically dense that they are, and just better eats all around.
Sarah, as I was looking at this and I was wondering why the bears look so fuzzy to me, and I forgot that the one of the 803 cubs has been using this camera as a toy, and that those are 803 cub smudges. So let's go back to false high,
Yes.
away from the smudges.
Yeah, that
Uh,
falls load is placed like about where the bears would be, and yeah, we see it with 803 coming around every now and then and checking it out. Because bears are curious; they're gonna look at whatever's in their environment and start to play with it.
there was a bear cam viewer who, and I'm sorry I don't know the person's name, did this beautiful painting of the claw on that
Mm-hmm.
falls cam low. We have such great artists. Um, I love that. Um,
Yeah, it's great to see
yeah,
people's interpretation of what they see on the bear cams, what they see in person. Yeah, would love to see anybody's art that they create.
yeah. 909 being patient, a little bit patient and a little bit impatient.
Mm-hmm. Reaching for them because they're not quite getting to her. Have you seen her fish
Yeah.
any other spots, Naomi, other than the lip? I know we've seen her in the lower river, but at the
Yeah,
falls, do you ever see her down below?
yeah, she fishes the jacuzzi, which
Oh, good
I've
for
not
her.
seen a lot of females do that. Here we're
Mm-mm.
zeroing in on the ginormous, and as some people like to call him, Hot Walker 151.
We're looking
He
at his butt
does.
or his face because there's two bears.
Oh, we're looking at his face. The butt, I don't
Okay.
know who that. He's got a
Can't tell
salmon.
yet, but they've got a
I,
salmon.
I I'm hard. It's hard for me to identify all the bear butts, but the
Oh,
one
and
in
he
the
blends in so well with the background.
I know, is it a rock? Is it a bear? But the one that I can clearly see who is really, really huge is 151 Walker. And to me, Walker is so interesting because he he tries to be dominant, but he doesn't succeed a lot. But he is one of the
Mm-hmm.
most successful bears on the river. If he gets pushed off by another dominant bear, he finds another place to fish successfully in the riffles or in the lower river. And quite obviously, he has been super successful this year.
Yeah, this might be the fattest I've ever seen this bear. He's been in the Fat Bear Week bracket for many, many years. He's never been able to cinch the title, but he's maybe it's just the way that he's sitting. And usually I see him standing up, which isn't going to make him look that much leaner. But I think this is the fattest I've ever seen this individual bear.
I agree with you. I have from our first year there, I have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
pictures of 151 in that spot. And as I recall, he just was not as big. Of course, he was still a little younger then and growing, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think this is the largest I've ever seen him. Well, good for 151 Walker.
I know. Yeah. And he's been on the river the entire season too. We haven't seen him really take a break from, at least you can correct me if I'm wrong because I might be, but he's been here throughout all of August.
Yeah, yeah, he's been a busy boy, as is evident by his size.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I said,
Oh.
that he's smart. If he can't take advantage of a certain spot, he moves to another, and he successfully fishes there. He does at times like to fish on the lip, um, but he hasn't been doing that much this year, um, or
I
last
remember
year.
him
But
being more of a lip fisher. I when I think of 151, I think of him being on the lip because I saw him there so much in 2019 and 2020. But yeah, I think 151 and I'm like, "Oh yeah, he's always on the lip." But no, not so much this year. Those other females
oh
are really really taking it.
well, I guess we can now identify whose butt that was.
Oh, Chunkaroo.
Yeah, 32 chunk. And another bear
He's
who,
been hanging out
despite
there a while.
Yeah. Well, it's a great spot. 32 Chunk last year was the most dominant bear on the river. For those who don't know, he came to Brooks early on and then this year and left for a little bit, probably in search of mates, and came back with a really serious injury. His looks like his jaw is broken, his tooth is displaced. I think he had a paw or leg injury. But boy, if there's ever an example of a resilient bear, it's 32 Chunk.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, he's definitely like, and this season too was not his first round of, injuries by fighting for females, fighting for dominance. He's always had a pretty prominent scar on his nose, scars other places on his body, and characteristically, I think of him as yes, a light bulb shaped bear, kind of like what we're seeing with 909 on the lip, that classic light bulb shape. And then the scar on his nose were really his identifying features. But now that his jaw is broken, and it's not going to repair itself. It's completely just broken off of that front part of his jaw. The tooth might fall out, might stay there, but that's his identifying feature now. That bear with that broken jaw.
Um, let's go to Cat's River View because I think we may have something interesting there.
I just saw that. I'm glad you said something. Looks like a sow with some cubs. Some big cubs.
Maybe it's 803 because she has those third season cubs
Those
who are
gigantic.
really big.
Yeah. And it looks like the cub walking ahead of 803, if that is her. And the other one kind of playing in the water. A lot of
Yeah,
gulls though down on this bit too. There must be some good dead salmon down there.
yeah. Well, you guys stay there because we don't want any more smudges on the fall
Yeah.
flow cam. It does look beautiful there. I know in the past couple of days it's been hazy because of ash.
Yeah, and we can kind of see that actually on the Dumpling Mountain camera right now. Sorry to Brian, our producer, making him go to all these different cameras, but from the top of Dumpling, if you see Brooks Camp down below, and then in between those two mountains, just kind of this wave of what looks like fog. It is ash from the Valley of 10,000 Smokes. So the mountain Nakatolinat right there on the right hand side kind of sits in front of the valley. So ash can get picked up and taken on either side of Mount Katolinat. And it's just, yeah, coming up the iliac arm there. And we could see down on the water too all of the whitecaps of the waves on the lake. And just by knowing how Brooks Camp is oriented, the wind is coming from the east. So the valley is southeast of Brooks Camp, and with the waves rolling in the way that they are, the wind is coming from the east. So something we call an east wind day, and that can really cause a lot of ash to get kicked up in the valley. Um, wind, the rain. If it rains, it'll help settle it down. But yeah, that eruption over 100 years ago still having its impact today.
Yeah, I get alerts from the Alaska Volcano Observatory, and I
Hmm.
got an alert about this the ash being blown eastward. You guys
Yep.
can. Uh, I'll find the link and put it in the chat later, so you can get woken up by volcano alerts. Not for most of you,
Yeah.
not near your homes. Yeah,
No, it's
those gulls are a sign of fish fish parts being left by bears like these two.
oh yeah. And I wonder if 803 has a fresh salmon, or if she's kind of sick of feeding her cubs at this point and just letting them eat the dead salmon. That's why it's up on shore. I've definitely
Yeah,
seen sows do that before, where they're kind of sick of their kids being around and they just want a meal without them.
Yeah, yeah. And then they will push them away if they don't want them there. So,
Oh yeah.
and it should, and in a few weeks, the bears will be in hyperphagia, which is the
Yep.
condition where the hormone that tells them they're full doesn't work, and the
Mhm.
hormone that tells them they're hungry gets ramped up. So these guys will
Yep.
be nonstop hungry, and the cubs get hyperphagia too. So
Oh yeah.
be interesting to watch this pair in a few weeks. There might be competition between the two of them as they get
Absolutely.
hungrier.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's sometimes I forget that the Cubs also go into hyperphagia, but yeah, they've got to be able to survive the winter just as much as the sow does. It looks like we do have a audience question from Deb. Is it possible for a bear to get too fat during hyperphagia? If a bear gets too fat, does it impact their ability to ambulate up to the den? That's I haven't thought about it, and I'll start with the first part of the question. Can a bear get too fat during hyperphagia? And I would think no. They are going to get as fat as they can, and getting fat is a measure of success for these bears. So the fatter they are, the more likely they are to survive winter and come out of the dens next year. But the second part of this question, Naomi, what's your take on it?
Well, I think it may make it a little more difficult for them to, I love the word
Mm-hmm.
ambulate, to
Me
make it to
too.
the den. It is a great word. Um, but you think of 747 in the past or
Mm-hmm.
Chunk at the end of the season trying to make it up the hill from the river. It's harder for them at the end of the season than it is at the beginning of the season. It takes them a little bit more time. So I suspect it may take them a little more time to ambulate up to the den, but they do make it up there.
Yes, yeah. And there's dens kind of found all over the Brooks Camp area as well. So there's been dens found on Dumpling Mountain, on Katolanat. There's a couple of like hills before it gets up to the really rocky areas. And there's a bunch of other hills and things around Brooks Camp down the road to the Valley of 10,000 Smokes. So, um, yeah, a bear will choose a den typically on the north side of a hillside so that it gets less sunlight and therefore will be more structurally sound throughout the fall and spring. I don't think we have this question queued up, but there was one in the YouTube chat yesterday about, will a bear use the same den year after year? And because of the freeze thaw cycle in the spring, when temperatures get kind of higher in the day and below freezing at night, it really ruins the structural integrity of that den. So they'll build a new one every year, and yeah, I'd imagine the fatter you are, I mean, 32, his belly was dragging on the ground by the end of last year. Um,
Yeah.
that's going to impact their ability to ambulate no matter where they're going.
Can we go to dumpling for just a second as we're talking about hibernating and going away from those cute cubs? Sorry. Um,
I know.
but Yeah, but and also yesterday on the YouTube Q&A, someone asked about does snow cover the dens, and
Mm-hmm.
around here, yes, it does, which
Mm-hmm.
is why one of the reasons they collapse at the end of the season, and they have to. The bears around here build new dens every year, and Dumpling is a place where some of the Brooks River bears do hibernate. We know we've at the late in the season we sometimes saw 854 Divot and her cubs roaming around Dumpling. We assume going to their denning spot. But let's now go to River Watch. We've got a fun bear on River Watch. Yeah.
That's a deep part of the river that he's in too. That camera sits at a pretty almost right near the channel. Um, it's nice that we can see some of the redfish swimming around, but man, oh man.
Yeah,
All kinds of
yeah.
dead salmon to choose from.
I believe that's bear 335, a Holly offspring. And if I'm wrong and it's a Brett offspring, you guys will let me know. But 335 has been down there a lot, fishing nonstop. But here you can see the salmon in the river.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
we couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny too because 335 we saw up at the Riffles just before the broadcast started. So yeah,
Yeah,
she's made her way down to the lower river, which is it's not far from the Riffles to the lower river. Um, but yeah, I do like
yeah.
seeing some 435 offspring. I remember when 335 was a cub and all of the trouble she would get into.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's so very curious about humans, um, and was very hard to convince to leave the lodge area. Let's go back
Oh
to
yeah.
Falls High.
Oh yeah.
Still looking like July there. Yeah, 909 in her spot on the top of the falls, leg up. 913 in the jacuzzi, and 801 covetously fishing behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe Walker in his spot. And I can't tell the other two bears who are there. I
I'm
need
sure
new
32
glasses.
is still in that back office.
Yeah, it's a great place for him to fish, right? Because he's not as vulnerable most of the time. If
Hmm.
he could be surrounded by other bears at some point, which is not a great thing to do with his back up against the wall. But it's kind of I mean, Otis used to do that when he was older, right? I mean, he liked to fish in the
Yep.
jacuzzi, but the office was a kind of safer spot for him. So good for you, 32 Chunk. You're healing
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, he doesn't have to, look behind him for other bears that may be coming up. Um, and yeah, just kind of gives him, I don't like to use the word safe, but a safer eating area. You can just see his jaw um, popping out of his mouth there. But yeah, I mean, I was about to say it's a great area to catch fish, but I think that could be said for literally anywhere on the river this year. So,
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. I mean, the other thing Chunk would be wary of in terms of watching his back end, because he
hmm.
was known to do sneak attacks on other bears.
Oh yeah.
Um, I, rem- I remember him doing that with 747. Was resting in the river,
Hmm.
and he did a sneak attack from behind. So
Yeah, just out of
he knows,
nowhere.
yeah, he knows the strategy. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's
they're not catching fish.
they're not catching too many, but there are definite signs that we are getting closer to fall and therefore getting closer to hyperphagia. The river is still tinted red. We're seeing the grass starting to die off and turn brown. We've got some yellow leaves coming. So it's not quite September yet, but the signs are definitely there that it's fall. Fat, fluffy bears, I always think of them as so fluffy when they're in September just because of their new coats and just how round they are. I think it makes them look a little fluffier. But yeah,
Yeah,
we've got some signs of fall, and the daylight's getting shorter, sun's rising later, setting earlier. So those sort of signs are going to start to let the bears know, hey, um, we're gonna just keep eating more, and you're not going to stop, and hyperphagia is going to set in.
well, 913 got a fish,
Good
and
for him.
801
Maybe.
is look at 801 sitting up. Where's my
Uh
fish?
huh. Maybe he'll try to sneak into the jacuzzi while it's unoccupied.
He
Kind
might.
of wary of 813 over
He's
there.
wary of
Yeah.
913. Yeah. But yeah, look,
Oh.
he really wants to go in there, it looks like. But he's got eyes. He's got eyes on the other bear. Uh, that
Yeah.
little
A little
dust up.
standoffish. Just doesn't want to expend the energy if he doesn't have to. I mean, conserving energy and getting enough calories in you for the winter. I don't. It's oh gosh, the term just left my head. But that remember my Econ 101 class and not a sinking cost, opportunity costs is what we're doing here, weighing the
Uh,
opportunity costs.
all right, back to Walker with Chunk behind him, and he's aware
I
that
mean, why
Chunk is
not?
behind him. See him?
Oh yeah.
He keeps looking around and checking on Chunk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, these are
yeah,
two of the
he's
biggest bears on the river, so but they've both been around for a number of years, so they don't not know each other, and I think that's probably why 151 is, checking over his shoulder because he remembers 32 as being very dominant, and we've seen
yeah,
151 kind of seed his spot for other dominant bears.
yeah. He keeps checking. He's
Hmm.
concerned. They're around the same age, I think.
I think so too. I could try to judge off of the numbers. So if 32 is a 032 series and 151 is right after the 0 series, they've got to just be a
So they
couple
are.
couple of
Yeah,
years apart, maybe depending on when they were first seen on the river, of course. Um,
right.
but
Well, I do know I've seen pictures of 151 as a cub. He's a very
okay, yeah,
cute
so
cub.
maybe 32, maybe a couple of years older because I think 32 was first identified as a subadult
Yeah.
back in like 2001 or something. So he was already at least between the ages of 3 and 5. But either way, still close in age, still older male bears. And yeah, I mean, 32 is kind of looking at 151 as well. They kind of just keep looking at each other like, I'm not going to do something. Are you going to do something?
Yeah, it would be interesting if one of them caught a fish to see what would happen. But
Yeah.
they're a little too wary and they're concentrating on each other more than the fish, I think. Although they can feel fish below them with their paws.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep. Yeah, they really do just keep
I love
checking
watching
each
these.
other out.
Yeah, I love watching these two.
Yeah, I wonder if one of them did get a fish, if there would be a little bit of a tussle, or if it would just be like, you know, let them eat in peace. But
I
they're checking each
suspect
other
because they're
out.
both so wary of each other for different reasons that they might want
Mm-hmm.
to take the fish elsewhere. Just a
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Just a guess. Um,
Yeah. This other bear walking up. He was just snorkeling a little bit ago. He's face down in the river, and that's one of my favorite fishing techniques to watch is when the bears have their face in the river and are trying to get a fish. That's I don't know. It's just a maybe not something I expect to see a bear doing, but I love it when they're snorkeling like that.
yeah. Um, while 909 is still on the lip, we have a clip of her from the other day when she was on the lip and 164 was below her in his shower position. Maybe we can take a look at that clip. Okay. She is not happy about that. She's got two bears
Mm.
below her and she's growling. I mean, I had turned up the volume full and you can actually hear her growl. And they're just too close for comfort. And I would think she would be especially wary of 164, who's been asserting himself this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and these other two bears are looking at her too, but it's almost a standoff. None of them are willing to move.
Yeah. Um, and and 909 has been quite dominant this year. She's taking guff from no one. But look, 164, he's
Hmm.
he's moving away slightly. He's thinking maybe I shouldn't be here. And of course, he can fish almost anywhere. So I think
Yep.
he moved back to the J. So that was the end of that clip. But so even a female bear like 909 can make a very dominant bear like 164 a little nervous and cautious enough that he moved away from her. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. Really. Sorry. Yeah. Really interesting to see him kind of moving, but um, I guess when you're fishing and you have this big bear kind of roaring in your ear right above you, um, we don't know what he's feeling. He did move, and we saw that, but is he wary of her? Is he annoyed that another bear is yelling in his ear while he's trying to fish? There could be a range of things going on there. Um, but
Yeah.
I say that only because I think I would be annoyed if I was trying to eat, and somebody was yelling over me, and nobody wants that.
I suspect he's a little cautious because she's been doing that for a while. So, and he can also fish in the J. So he has
Hmm.
options. Shall we go back to live footage on the Falls High?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look. It seems to be where the bears are hanging out. Not too much action down on the lower river at the moment, but
Yeah, I love seeing 909 on the lip and getting as fat as she is. She's not her first year with her cubs. She really didn't know where to fish because she couldn't fish on the lip because she had to look after her cub and her cub wouldn't stay treed. But when she has access to the lip, she looks like that.
yes, definitely. And I now that she's had a little bit more experience, her litter mate 910 was fishing with 909. 910 adopted 909's cub. And we would see all four of these bears kind of on the lip at the same time. So I wonder, she looks well suited to have some cubs this upcoming winter. I don't know. I don't know if you know either, Naomi, if she did mate with any bears. Um,
You
I
know,
try to
I
give them
don't.
their privacy. I'm not looking to see who's doing what,
Yeah,
but
I'm glad you're
some
not
people do.
lurking. I'm glad you're not lurking. Um, I don't know. She arrived with three cubs this year and lost them all in short order. So she may
Oh,
not have
that's
made.
right. She did.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it may have taken time for her to be in estrus. I don't know that she would have gone into estrus right away after losing three cubs. So, I
Yeah.
don't
I
know.
don't know.
We'll have to see. We have a clip of her daughter fishing on the lip. If we can go to that briefly. That's 609 on the lip. Now, 609 learned from her mom, who learned from her mom. But 609, you're not in the best spot.
No, I was just thinking that. I was like, why is she right there? And why is she's so big she's blocking water from coming over the falls? Um, when she sat down, there was no water coming up, and now that she's standing up, there's water coming. But yeah, she needs to go when looking here just a little bit over to the right hand side, and that's typically the prime spot.
Yeah, she's not quite in the correct spot. But she has been catching fish this year because she is big. So, and
Yes.
blonde ears like her mom.
Yeah, this is a nice perspective too of the falls. Um, Looking up with the is that the riffles or
No, it's the
the
Riffles
falls
cam.
low? Yeah.
And a, yeah, and a reminder for people who visit Brooks Falls that the Riffles, if you have to wait for a place on the falls platform, which you often have to do in July and into August, um, there is always great viewing on the Riffles platform, and she's got her paw up like her mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she does. And I wonder too, so 609 being the offspring of 909, and then kind of growing up with 910 and 910's cub. Um, I wonder if this is just where she stood as a cub. And so I wonder if that's what she's remembering is like, yes, as a cub, I stood here. This is where I go. I can't get over the fact, sorry, just a complete tangent, that when she sits down, she blocks all of the water and does not get pushed over the edge. And when she stands up, all that water, it just goes to show how heavy these bears are. Because, Mike and I have talked about standing on the lip of the falls and just getting swept away by the force of the water. So this bear, it's just incredible to me. I don't know what I was saying before that, but holy cow, this bear's
Well,
heavy.
no, it's a great perspective and a great comment. And of course, you and Mike didn't go there when bears were early in the
Oh,
season.
yes. Early
Yeah.
season, May, June, there's hardly any fish in the river, and if there is, it's trout or grayling, maybe a couple of whitefish. But yeah, certainly no, you're not nobody's going to the falls when there's bears around because, when you're standing on the platform there, you're within 50 yards of a bear, but you're on a platform. And this time of year, in July, in September, there's no getting down on the ground of the falls and being 50 yards away from a bear.
No. Let's go to Cat's River View. We got a bear there by over by the Spit Road who had gotten a fish. Looks like a young
Oh,
bear.
just over in the cove? That's where he's at? This was hard
Yeah.
for me to tell if he was upriver or downriver, but um yeah, the river's not like flowing where he is there. I called it the cove because as you go down the Spit Road, um, and it kind of loops back around. Obviously, there's water there, but it's not running water. I wonder what this bear sees.
Probably another bear.
Yeah, not too close by, but close enough to where they're not super excited about it. Huh. But yeah, that part of the river, not super flowing water, but we'll still see fish in there quite often. Hmm. Oh, there's the other bear coming out behind that other bush.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what that bear was worried about.
Mm-hmm.
That Spit Road, which stems out from the southern end of the bridge. Oh, she's moving back.
Doesn't like it at all.
No. Well, these look like, oh,
Oh.
and another bear.
Oh.
Oh, true subadult behavior,
Mm-hmm.
chasing each other. God, reminds me of moments of terror for me on on the Falls Trail.
Yes. Wow. Okay.
That's why I don't go on the Spit Road after early June, and especially
No.
July on, because those subadults run and chase each other there.
Yep. Yeah. It's not the greatest place to catch salmon right off the Spit Road into that little cove or the marsh. So we don't see the more dominant bears there, but yeah, the subadults are these two are just playing, and that other bear doesn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, uncomfortable, a little timid there.
Yeah, very skittish.
And go along the beach there.
Yeah. Oh, and the
Yeah,
subadult just follows her.
yeah. They are curious. They're curious about everything, which is, cubs and subadults are curious about everything, which is why you frequently see um, cubs with porcupine quills in their paws.
Yep.
And I
Oh yeah.
believe, and I can't remember which, someone in the chat said that there's a cub with a porcupine quill in its paw right now.
Mm.
And those things come
It's
out.
like a rite of passage. Yeah.
Yeah, They probably think that the quill is, the porcupine is fun to play with, and when they find out differently. But the
Well, and
quills
especially
do
when they're
come
a
out
cub, they might
eventually.
be. Yeah, the quills will come out, but they are. It's almost like the cubs and the porcupines are almost the same size, especially if they're a springer.
Right.
Um, but yeah, the quills will come out. They'll eventually make their way out. I mean, I haven't been stabbed by a porcupine, but I have accidentally stabbed myself with a porcupine quill, and it's not
You're not
pleasant.
supposed to do that,
Um,
Sarah.
I had them. I think I was collecting them for a program or something, and they were in my pocket, and I forgot that they were in my pocket. Uh, so,
Oh, bad
oops.
news.
But they're hollow inside, so
Yeah,
when
it was
you
interesting.
maybe the bears can bite them off, but dogs around town, if you just snip the tail end of the quill off, you can usually pull them out that way once you kind of like open up the quill and snip the tip off. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Amy.
someone, a woman, no, a woman in King Salmon told me that a number of years ago that,
Oh, did I hear it
that
from
was how
you?
maybe I heard it from some a woman in King Salmon who said that's how she gets them out of her dog's paws because they're hollow and she snips them out. But the cubs will chew on them, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually they'll come out. Mom kind of leaves it alone. I have seen sows limit their range when they have an injured cub like that, but I've never seen
Right.
one try and pull the quills out. But this
Mm-mm.
bear looks like it's gotten some food.
Yeah, some dead salmon up on shore, I'm sure. I caught notice of the fireweed kind of back behind that bear, and I'm thinking, oh man, just another sign of fall. All the fireweed is up and gone to cotton, and when we say fireweed goes to cotton, it means that their seeds are kind of cottony, and they are starting to disperse those now. But man, after
So
seeing some of those big boys up at the falls, this bear just looks kind of tiny.
I know, but it's not that tiny. I mean, it looks tiny in
Oh
comparison,
no.
right? But
Oh yeah. Yeah.
that bear is not that small. Um, should we go back to Falls High again? It's
Yeah,
so
let's check out
entertaining
what's going on up
there.
there.
The bears aren't moving. They like their
Nope.
positions. They've earned their positions. Certainly,
Yeah, I mean
164
they've got a
is
good spot.
yeah.
Is this 164
Um,
again, or is this
oh,
913? I can't
oh,
tell.
it's 913. Yeah. When they're especially when they're that deep into the J, it's probably 913.
Hmm.
Um, we talked a lot about dominance, and we've seen a lot of dominance displays, but I wanted to go to a clip of a bear who doesn't like to engage in dominance displays and his reaction when he came to the falls the other day. It's 89 Backpack. And we have a clip of him. So here you see a bunch of large bears down there, and he's just arriving. And Backpack is not a bear to get into an altercation. He keeps to himself, and he is very successful. You will see shortly how successful he is. But he's carefully scoping out the room. Yeah, do I want to go down here or don't I? Well, let's see. Yeah, well, hmm. And here comes a bear towards him.
Hmm.
He's reconsidering where he wants to go. So cautious.
Yeah, that head down on a swivel, moving pretty slowly, hesitantly.
Yeah. And wanting to get out of there.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, he looks so much like uh he's another offspring of 435 Holly, and he looks so much like her there.
He does. And that other bear, yeah. So I just wanted to show an example of a bear who doesn't want to prove dominance and typically doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And but look how fat he is. So
He looks great.
there are many ways of being successful on the Brooks River. You don't have to be one of the top most dominant bears to look like that. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we see, there are bears who fight for dominance and there are bears who don't. And either way, I mean, the Katmai region, the Brooks Camp area, if you're a bear, you're going to be successful. It's kind of, I mean, I'm not a bear. I won't speak for them, but I would think that it is kind of difficult to not be successful along the Brooks River this year in particular, um,
yeah,
just because of how much salmon he's got. He almost has that little, um, those underwear markings that 435 had too on his back end.
yeah,
Not as quite as
yeah. Well,
prominent as hers, but
no. Let's go back to Falls High and look at our
oh,
star of the day. She got a fish,
oh yeah.
showing her bulbous profile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these
That would
bears
be a
are
good.
just a great Fat Bear Week picture.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. A great fat bear week picture. She's out of the water and a profile.
Yes, and it's so hard to get these bears to pose correctly for us. They're always half in the water. We're just looking at their backside, and we can't quite get the full profile shot of them. But yeah, we'll have to. If we don't get a good picture of her, we might have to come back to this and get that still from the footage.
Yeah. Back to fishing. Can't rest.
Well, and she's still got a couple more weeks until we've also got the Fat Bear Week stuff, so she might even get fatter because you're right. Oh, and
Oh,
she got rid of them
wow.
immediately.
Good for you, 909.
Oh yeah, it's not even that red either. That's still a pretty fresh salmon.
Yeah. Which is why, why we're seeing bears at the falls because they're more fresh salmon there than in the lower river
Hmm. Yep.
because it seems like the run has slowed, right?
Oh yeah, the run has slowed, and folks. We often get questions about when the salmon don't make it up over the falls, are they going to spawn below the falls? And the answer is yes. Fish do spawn below the falls. So I wonder if that's starting to happen now in the lower river, where the fish will start to dig out their reds because it is getting to that time of year where we should be seeing a lot of a couple of reds. Reds being the nest um, that fish dig to lay their eggs in the lower river. But yeah, seeing there's still so much that 909 is still able to get them from the lip. And only if they're jumping will she be able to catch them there. So,
Yeah. And notice the flesh of that fish is still red, which means it is a
yeah, a
fresh
beautiful
fish.
color red.
Yeah. And let's see if she eats the whole thing. She looks like she's doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fish aren't as abundant now. The fresh fish aren't as abundant now as they were earlier in the season. So instead of doing that high grading maneuver where they just eat the fattiest parts of the fish, the head, the skin, and the eggs if it's a female, and then they leave the what we consider the best part of the fish, the fillet, for another animal that might eat it, or they just kind of like let it float downriver. But it does look like she ate that entire fish,
Yeah,
and
she left
so
some for the gull.
did she?
Yeah.
Gotta leave some
She
for the
left a little.
gulls. How else are they gonna eat?
Yeah. Oh, the gulls.
Yeah, there's not
I
too
don't know why.
many up at the falls right now. They were all down at the lower river, but that's probably where their food is.
Yeah. Well, still some fish jumping now, and they're not looking particularly red or in spawning colors.
Mm-mm. No, it could be some of the silvers trying to jump um, and get up to their spawning grounds as well. We do see all five species of salmon in the river. We haven't seen a king salmon in the river for quite some years. At least I haven't. Um, that doesn't mean that they're never there, but all five species. So we're probably seeing some of the chum salmon and the pink salmon as well. And actually, can we go back down to Cat's River View? It looks like we have those two
I, w-
subadults back.
I was I was just gonna ask that. Oh, that's so great. And that is so wonderful because so much play. And we saw so little play in the last couple of years because the fishing was so much more difficult for them.
Yeah, so even though these are subadults, they're still well fed enough to be playing around with each other and aren't they don't seem too
Yeah.
concerned about their next meal as they do as engaging with each other.
And people have been wondering a lot, are they fat enough? But we have to remember that subadults are growing up as well as out. So they're like gangly teenagers. So they are pretty fat, and they're not going to look as fat as the full-grown bears.
Yeah. What they've been eating, it's not only adding to their fat stores, but it's helping, their skeleton is still growing. Their bones are still growing and getting as long as they need to be to fill out that adult body that they'll eventually have. But um, so yeah, they're definitely if they're playing and they're still looking this as fat as they do right now, they've had a good summer. Um, yeah, these are some silly bears down
It's
here.
great. I love watching bears play. And they learn some of that as cubs with their litter mates.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if they're a single cub, you'll see those single cubs playing with mom.
Yep.
Um, Grazer did with her cub recently, and we've seen that a lot with single cubs and moms. They will play and prepares them for this.
Yep. Yep. And they're learning through play right now with each other too. So, they're learning how to interact with other bears. They're learning how to be a bear. Play fighting will help them later on in life as well. But, bears aren't particularly, they're independent. They're not always social, but in a good environment where there's a lot of food, they feel safe. Um, they're gonna be able to have these kind of social interactions.
So before we go, I'd like to go to a question from Jill. And Jill asked, we know where the cameras are and that there are two cam ops a shift, but where do they do their work? Can the cam ops be anywhere? They do great work. And I just wanted to take this question because the cam ops are stellar. They do
They're
amazing work.
amazing.
They,
Shout out to the
if we didn't have,
operators.
yeah, and with us today is Cam Op Dawn and Cam Op Snow. And they've been
Whoop
following the
whoop.
bears for us, and they tell us what's coming up because they see the action before we do because of the delay. But the cam ops are all over the world. They're the most experienced cam ops at Explore, and and if we didn't have the cam ops, there would be fixed cameras. We wouldn't see what we're seeing.
Yep. Yeah, so they do work remotely. They can work from anywhere. And yeah, thank you so much to the camera operators, to the moderators in the chat. Really, none of this would be possible without their help. So thank you guys so much for being able to help us do the jobs that we love.
And thank you to Brian, who's our producer today.
Shout out,
And
Brian.
so before we leave, Sarah, speaking of subadults, you are in a live chat tomorrow.
tomorrow, 3 p.m., same channel on the Bears Chat Live channel on explore.org and on YouTube. Myself and our Brooks Camp Rangers, Ashley and Christine, we will be talking all about subadults and cubs and the early life of these brown bears. And you might get to see some of us as some early brown bears ourselves, our cub pictures or our subadult pictures. So stay tuned, and we are excited to talk about all of that tomorrow.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. And as we say at Explore, never stop learning.